The drill is called Gretzky's yo-yo. I see a problem in youth hockey with coaches not thinking of the goalies when designing drills and practice plans. This is a challenge when you're developing players in the most demanding position in all of sports. Gretzky's yo-yo is meant to change that. Gretzky's yo-yo is a variation of the Gretzky drill, incorporating concepts focusing on the goalie, specifically puck tracking, which will make the goalie focus on vertical and lateral movements, which is needed as goalies progress in both 10 and 12U age groups. This will help them get comfortable with various angles and depth while reading the play. It also helps with the skaters who will be moving within the triangle that gets established during the drill, focusing on puck control and passing, in addition to increasing their own hockey IQ. All right, here's the setup for the drill. We've got 3 players and the goalie. One of the players is going to be Gretzky, who will be behind the net, and the other 2 offensive players will line up around the inside hash marks on either side of the circles. The offense needs 3 passes minimum before a shot, and one of the passes must go from one of the offensive players by the hash marks back to Gretzky behind the net. Gretzky will move back and forth behind the goal, causing the goalie to work on lateral post-to-post movement. Gretzky then passes to either of the shooters, causing the goalie to push out and challenge while moving away from the net vertically, focusing on their depth away from the goal. Goalie will need to use both shuffles and pushes to cover the net during the entirety of this drill. At some point, the shooter will take a shot, and the goalie needs to work on save selection. Goalie will then need to work on controlling the rebound if there is one, and covering as the shooters will crash the net trying to get the rebound. To add some complexity to this drill, we're going to throw in a few activators as the players and the goalies get a little bit more advanced. One of them is to establish a time and then to reduce that time frame. So let's say we start out with 15 seconds. We see that there's a lot of movement, a lot of activity, but we want to make it a little bit quicker. We want to make the players not necessarily think, but react and increase their hockey IQ. So we're going to reduce that time to maybe 10 seconds. Another is increasing the number of passes from 3 to 5 or 6. Again, continuing to focus on that north-south, east-west movement that the goalie is going to have to do while making the players think, I've got to move this either left or right or back behind the net to the goalie. Another activator revolving around the passing can be requiring one-touch passing. So that's really going to focus on increasing the quickness that the goalie needs while making the shooters and Gretzky think that they've got to be able to make a play before that puck even gets to them. Finally, some other things that we can do to add activators are to add a defensive player to work with the goalie. That's going to push Gretzky to one side or the other, forcing the goalie to work with more traffic in the net, which is going to be critical as they advance up through higher level play at the 10U and certainly at the 12U age groups. Coinciding with adding that defensive player, we can add an extra offensive player. So we'll have 4 offensive players out there in an effort to create a screen. That's really going to be advantageous to training the goalie, fighting through some of the bigger kids as they develop in the 12U and up age groups. Finally, the last activator is going to be to have that triangle rotate a little bit. We can drop one of the offensive players when there's 3 out there below the goal line with Gretzky and spread Gretzky out to line up with the dots in the face-off circle. So you've really got a widened triangle there. In that same effort, we're going to put one of the other shooters that remains out front of the net in the slot. So we're just going to have a larger base that we're going to be shooting around with a single shooter out front. We can even add even more complexity here by making that triangle rotate. So that second player, once he drops out, maybe Gretzky goes back to his position behind the net, the shooter in the slot adds some movement to his routine, and that second shooter comes out to create a different off-balance triangle. That's Gretzky's yo-yo. It's a great tool that'll benefit both the skaters and the goalie in multiple ways as they develop their own hockey IQ.